Welcome home. We are WNST. Tassa Baltimore. Baltimore positive. I feel like we've taken a break from the Maryland Crab Cake Tour, but not really. Just it's 4th of July, got some hot dogs, crab cakes, all that stuff happening. Friends over at State Fair having the hot dog eating contest. I'm out for that. I did meet that guy one time that shoves all the hot dogs. I don't know. We're going to be shoving crab cakes and shrimp salad and other good stuff before the Oyster Tour down at the Maryland Crab Cake Tour, brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. Gold Rush Sevens Doubler. We'll be at Fadley's, the new Fadley's. If you haven't been down to the new Lexington Market, you don't. Just come. Just come next Friday. Yankees in town. There'll be pinstripers there. All that'll be happening. Our friends at Jiffy Lube Multi-Care putting us out on the road at the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. I'm going to have a whole list of dates into July and August. I'm going down to Mako in Ocean City with our next guest, who I'm going to begin with an apology before we even begin. And also our friends at Liberty Pure Solutions, making our water crystal clear for the holidays. And Bill Cole is here. A happy 4th to you. I was going to wear red, white, and blue and shoot off fireworks, although I'm hearing plenty of that in the sky. I really have to begin this whole thing with I had a tragedy in my kitchen about 10 o'clock at night the other night. I had the Cole roofing mug that is like, my wife calls it my binky. And I don't know, it's just something about the shape of it, something about the way that my Royal Farms coffee tasted in it. And I went to put it away, and it was a slippery, it has that handled before feeling, and it shattered at my feet, and it landed partially in my cat food bowl and all over the floor. And 38 minutes later, with a vacuum, trying to keep every piece of ceramic morsel from slicing my little kitten's little bean paws up, I cleaned it up, and I am without a Cole roofing mug, but I do have a really cool Dundalk throwback mug that was gifted to me with the Roll Arena and 2 guys on it. Bill, how are you? Happy 4th.
Yeah, I'm not giving you any more mugs. Like, I think this is the second one. The first one was the tall one. You knocked that over
Yeah,
and like
it killed
fried
my
your
board.
board,
Yep,
and yeah.
$249 later. That was a
We're,
hell of a mug.
I think maybe I'll get you like a branded, what are those backpacks that the runners use that have the little tube that they drink out of while they're running? Like,
You know who's really smart? The
we'll
Maryland
get you one of
Lottery.
them.
Maryland Lottery gives me, Planet Fitness gives me one
Can't
like
break that.
this here, right? So, but this
Yeah.
is for like water. The lottery gives me like these gold things with it's a legitimate coffee thing, and it's
Yeah.
got a lottery, but it doesn't have a handle, and I'm missing a finger. Can you see this? So I've already got a challenge on my right side, and I'm right-handed. So and I still use pens because I'm an old guy, 4-color pens, as you can see. I need a handle, dude. So one of the things that, like, sometimes the handle's too big, and you can see I'm missing my finger, made for fun on the playground. But I need a handle on my mug. So dude, I'm trying to get a handle on America on the 4th of July, and I haven't talked about it all week. And I think I made one mention about it in the beer garden at the Heritage Fair the other night. I haven't done a lot of radio since the debate. Do you have any observation? Did you watch it? Or, I mean, you're a good American. You're like fiercely, weirdly independent. You don't trust anybody, which I'm moving more to your side. But believe me, you and I are more
It's
closely
a
aligned than
scary
you think.
it's a scary place, so I don't encourage anyone to spend any time where I spend. But
Well, it's a sort of
you
a purgatory of paranoia, I think, is what it is. Sort of like John Harbaugh, but worse.
I no, so I forgot to watch it. I really had meant to try and sit down and watch it, mostly for the entertainment value that I anticipated it would be. If you can just separate yourself from the depression of like the patriotism that you're just like oozing and feeling like disastrous watching. If you just look at it as entertainment, imagine it was a Saturday Night Live skit.
But it's not.
It would be really funny, and you would enjoy it. So I was trying to do that. I had heard somebody, a comedian, do a thing like a day or two before where, the guy is, and I can't remember who it was, but clearly a liberal Democrat based comedian guy, right? But he loved Donald Trump's speeches, just because of the ridiculousness of them. And he does this whole bit when, like, right after we killed one of the terrorist guys, and Trump comes out of the room and he gives this like
But
off the
why
cuff
people would want to
banana
give
speech, right?
250 years of peace and not peace, but sovereignty, um, to this maniac again, it boggles my mind that 40% of the
What
people
was
have witnessed this and
it was
don't
a
see evil.
wonderful, yeah,
Evil.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm I,
But
I'm I mean evil. Like this guy's gone away for a couple of years, except when he's been in court lying to everybody, an insurrection on the steps. And I still have people in my life who I was altar boys with on my Facebook threads saying January 6th was a big lie made up by the liberal media. Like it is mind blowing to me, Bill. It's
the
mine, and I can't play kayfabe with Mr. Rubenstein or Bishotti or the Whistler or Chad Steele. I'm not playing I don't play kayfabe for anybody, not for sponsors, not for anybody, dude. That thing last week was really disturbing to me to see. I turned it off at 9:12. I said to my wife, I got to go to bed. Like I didn't even want to talk to her. I didn't cry, didn't pout, didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't go on the internet, didn't need the post game, didn't even need to watch the rest of it to know that now my team is like telling the world this guy's more lucid than he is and that everything's going to be okay. And the other team is coming with um, an arsenal of what we saw from 2016 to 20 that somehow, some way is appealing or attractive to some people, even though it's not even in their best interests.
the comment about the comedian doing the bit on Trump speeches is this recognition of the fact that some measurable percentage of the population doesn't care about policy or
Truth.
plans or like, yeah,
Truth.
like anything. Not
It's a
even,
wrestling match. It's
yeah,
theater. I
forget
like Ric
getting to the
Flair, even though he
lying or
kicks
any
the
of that.
guys in the nuts, and that's the way we should run our society. I mean, we just had a Supreme Court this
Well,
week
no, I just think they
that
just think
say
it's a
that being a
joke.
criminal's okay if you're the president. And the weird part is my guy's in charge, right? Like my guy, he could do whatever he wants to. It's still a bad idea. It's a bad idea for whomever's in
Except,
charge, literally.
right, except that we both know, and this is the biggest, one of the biggest problems. We know that your guy can't do whatever he wants because I'm not entirely convinced that he's forming cohesive
Oh, I
thoughts
have
at
no
this point.
question about that, dude. I'm not going to be here the one,
Right.
taking the PR guy's pitch and giving it to you. I saw what I saw. I also saw him the next day completely lucid. So like all of this has wagged the dog for me. And being a real journalist where I see, I've had Steve Bisciotti and Eric DaCosta run from me on a balcony this year, like pretending they don't know me and that none of this exists and that my audience, like it's Orwellian to some degree. David Rubenstein's being called the greatest owner in sports. He's done like 5 things. He's danced on the dugout twice, thrown out hats, and I don't even know what else he's done. I mean, I watched his political pronouncements for the very first time last week, and you and I had War and Peace on the Orioles last week, but I watched him on literally a political show talk about his friendships with Biden and Trump and his interviews with them, and then in the same sentence said, but I don't have anything to do with politics. And then he said, no one ever loses money buying a sports franchise. He said this. No one ever loses money, but we did this as a philanthropy. But of course, we expect to make money. So I hear this double talk with all of this, and no one calls it out. No one says anything. But it's astonishing to me that we could have this debate with this fraud, con man, criminal, liar, serial, awful human. Grab them by the pee, black jobs, inject bleach, all of that, and then have this other man who clearly is not at full capacity based on anything we've seen in the man's public life over 50 years of politics. And then the next day we just go back to, how about the Orioles? How's that gunner doing? Who's doing on the all? We got all-star voting, and like, dude, it was disturbing going to bed for me that Thursday night. And a week out, I'm disturbed by all of it. I'm disturbed by my team's strategy on it. I'm disturbed by the fact that America wouldn't want a better debate, wouldn't want a sane Republican and a lucid Democrat to debate in some sort of theoretical way what we've grown up with, whether it's Dukakis and Bush, or Bush and Clinton, or Clinton and Hogan and Ehrlich, and like normal stuff. There was nothing normal about that. And if I'm watching from anywhere else in the world, I would be very disturbed that these are the two choices. I'm disturbed on the 4th of July, Bill. And I haven't said it out loud. I haven't been on social. This is one of the first, but you can tell this is what I was feeling at 9:30 on that night where I went to bed and I woke up. And the first thing I thought at 4 a.m. was, I hope the Democrats have a better plan than this. I mean, put Gavin Newsom up and lose. Put somebody up that can put somebody up that can speak. Put Nancy Pelosi up. She's got more going on than him. I mean, I'm just saying, like, put somebody up that can debate this con man.
I think it's important to understand that we do want better. Everyone wants better. Even the people involved want better. The problem is that we have eroded all boundaries of civility, and our competitive spirit overwhelms our ability to be reasonable humans. So we destroy people that enter politics. So once we have a track record of doing that,
and the journalists, by the way, Tapper's getting killed this week. Dana Bash, because right, I mean,
yeah, we once we lost all civility in that, the good people are like, well, screw that. I'll just go run a Fortune 500 company. I don't need to deal with that BS. So we want better, but we're unwilling to create boundaries or model behavior that would allow us to have civil, debate, discourse around these differences, and we just
quality civil servants.
Well, nobody of quality is going to go into civil service when they know the other competitors' competitive spirit. Like, they're just so overwhelmingly competitive that they're willing to go to whatever length is required to destroy
like,
the
as an
person.
example with what got me into politics, buying books from a woman that don't exist to support her false campaign for Healthy Holly. Those kinds of things that drags businesses, donors.
Yeah, that's not really what I understand what you're saying. Yes, that's a problem of the system. My description is more the idea that when someone raises their hand, the first action of the competition is to go dig into their background and find out that they had a DWI when they were 22 years old, and then go out on the stump and make it all about how irresponsible that person is, even though now they're 60 and they've done all these wonderful things. About, like, that's just that's the plan, that's the action, you know what I mean?
But the irresponsible part of Donald Trump is on display. He told the world to inject bleach in the middle of a plague, man. Like, I
get it. These are the people that we're left with, who clearly don't care if you look into my background and find reasons to trash me, because my moral standard is so low that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not.
But the people denying science, and the people that think the earth is flat, and the people that are bigots and racists and have no sense of discourse in regard to deeper issues they can't possibly understand. I mean, the plague and vaccines, and everybody has a platform now on social media. Everybody has a podcast, right? Like,
right, but how do you
we get to a point where this is what we're Everybody wants to have a debate. We're having one right now. It's a better debate than what I saw on television last Thursday night.
How do you enable like people have all different life experiences. They end up with all different education levels and relationships and positive and negative things that occur to them. And that, so how do you create a platform where those people are given the tools to have civil discourse, right? So like on some level, we expect our politicians to be educated to a certain level and be able to form cohesive thoughts, to discuss. And I mean, the reason that it's worked, and we're still such a young country that like there's no proof that it's going to always work, but like the reason it's worked so far is that there's an element of check and balance that exists throughout all of it, right? Like, so
And that's seventh grade social studies,
right,
right?
neither
Now, I wonder if Hawk to a girl knows what checks and balances are. Like seriously, like I remember when Jay Leno would walk around and try to figure out who doesn't know anything about anything, like who's on the $5 bill, basic sort of
yeah,
American things,
sure.
like checks and balances is the very basis of the first thing I learned in Mr. Schlee's seventh grade social studies class at Hollywood Middle School. Literally.
So that's why you if you were potentially struggling to sleep after that debate, that's why I don't lose any sleep, because I know that my number one job as a business owner is to figure out how to have a sustainable, profitable company no matter who wins what position, right? Like they're
Well,
going to
Leonard
change
Raskin always
stuff.
says it doesn't matter who wins. The stock market's going to be there the day
They're going to
afterward. But it
change
would matter
stuff,
who
right? All
wins
that.
if
I just
the guy who loses the election decides to stage another coup. And
maybe,
that the fact that 4 years later,
maybe,
dude, be honest with me. Like, was that a
maybe.
coup attempt or was it not? Are you ready? Are you ready to say that gathering people to dispute an election, being on the phone to the Georgia elector and literally mafia shaking him down as the leader of the free world, and then bringing people with guns, knives, weapons to the Capitol to storm the Capitol and then walk away and say it was a garden party. Like we had people saying that wasn't a coup.
I
It wasn't
think
a coup
that
attempt, really.
I believe that calling it a coup is giving that man too much credit. I don't think that guy is smart enough to
Was it a criminal
effectively.
act, Bill? Was it a criminal act to do what he did? Could I expect to go to prison if I told people to go down to the Capitol, led them there, walked out, and I was the leader? And let's just say I sat on the Supreme Court and my wife was running buses down there. Like, dude, there's some really dirty stuff that's going on, and that's not CNN or MSN. That's just facts. There's
I
fact and there's
think
fiction. And
I,
these people that are into the Fox News, like I pray for them. They think that these people that Rupert Murdoch brought on a media entity such as the New York Post and the National Enquirer and those great roots that he had, that would serve Americans truth.
I think that
Like,
we have established a law around yelling fire in a movie theater, right? Because we realized that there was some unintended consequences, right? So the idiot kid who yells fire in the movie theater, he wasn't trying to kill anybody, right? But somebody might die because they stampede. So in order to create a deterrent to that, we explain that you just can't do this because there's unintended consequences. So if you do it, we are telling you now ahead of time that we're going to hold you accountable to the unintended consequences. I believe that his negligence or lack of leadership when it became obvious that things were getting out of control, to him, for him to not stop that and tell them people to stop and tell them people to go away, prior to storming the Capitol,
Dude, he
right?
egged
Like,
it on all day.
I
He egged it on for
okay, so
weeks.
that to me is where you have to have a very
He should be under a jail. In any other country in the world, he would be in jail. Like
oh,
the
that
fact
you
that
can't
he's
say that.
running
You can't say
again.
that. How can you say that?
Oh
Every
my
other country
God.
in the world. Why would he go to jail in any other country in the world? Maybe in other countries in the world he would be killed, right, by the
Fair
guy
enough.
who's
Fair. That's
like,
what I. That's. That,
like,
let me.
like
Let me. Yes. Correct.
right,
Correct.
right.
He
I
he
mean,
would no longer exist. He just would.
look, when you want to be civil, that means that bullies get space to operate, right? When you want to be a peaceful society, bullies have space to operate. This is the whole thing that your parents taught you as a kid. Like, you're getting bullied, you're getting bullied, you're getting bullied. What do? Well, one of these times you're gonna have to turn around and smack them in the nose because you've got to defend yourself. So in a free society, people are gonna say things that you don't like. They're gonna behave in ways that you don't like. We all try and agree, meaning people who believe this side and people that believe this side come together to create a set of rules that we're all going to follow. And as long as you don't cross those rules, you're allowed to say whatever you want. You're allowed to behave however you want. Like, you just can't cross these lines that we've all come together and agreed to.
But the
And then,
outlier of modern society finding this incredible ogre attractive is it's just astonishing to
it's
me
not that hard to
that
believe.
people who love God would look at their and I CCD confirmed, carried the cross, drank the church wine, did it all. Did it all. Catholic or Lady Fatima, talk about it all the time. That anything that I was ever taught from Father Baumgartner in the Archdiocese, and you can Google them, they have had their own issues about trust and honesty and integrity and all of that. But everything that the good book told me, it, 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 it's the biggest disappointment of my lifetime. And I would say that to anybody. I said that to my friend Christina online the other night. Just like I cannot fathom that this WWE Saturday Night Live skit that ran the country for 4 years in the middle of a plague would be attractive to people. And everything in its
Yeah, I don't.
aftermath, from January 6th to trials, to grab him by the pee, to literal juries of Americans convicting him of crimes. Like that, it blows me away that anybody thinks that he's just a good man who's been, you
In
know,
the 70s, 60s, and 70s, people fought against the government because the government was waging a war in Vietnam, right? Imagine how our conversation would be at that time around that concept, right? One group is saying, well, it's the government, you do whatever they say. And the other group is saying, no, no, why are we fighting that war? This is BS. Get to the streets.
or what Muhammad Ali said, those people have never done anything to me. Right.
I mean, it's just insanity. It is not hard for me to believe that in a society where we speak to democracy and transparency and like and then the other
And
side
God and kindness, no
we're
matter
talking
what your
about,
religion
right,
is,
we're
right?
talking
Being
about
good to your neighbors, all the 10 commandment, basic rules of family and love your family and don't do harm to others and speak just all the things we need to do to have a community, to literally to become a community here from Plymouth Rock on, you know?
right, we talk about all of these tenets of our country, and then at the other side we are finding evidence, always, it always exists, evidence of people who are behaving badly, right? Not the majority, the minority, the corruption, the books, the money, what we find that. And where the people come from that are supporting someone like Donald Trump, you speak to all this, but literally, I can't go into the Capitol building. I can't be a participant in any of it. The politicians are lifetime politicians as opposed to civil servants who work in their community and then go and do a stint to for the betterment of us all, and then come back to the community and go back to their work or their business or their job or whatever. We don't have that anymore. We have people who have made a career of leveraging political power
And a
and become
system that supports that
a full-time
legally,
politician. Right.
financially, and money, that gets
So,
laws passed to tell people, soft drinks are good for them, or,
right.
Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, or
So with
whatever
a
that
country,
marketing would be. Yes.
right. So with a country built on a foundation of revolution that said, we don't like the way we're being treated. We're going to rise up and we're going to cut our own path, right? That's
You
what
said
you're
that like
taught.
Spicoli,
That's
like
what
I
you're
like
taught
that.
in
That's good.
third grade. That's what you're taught in third grade. And then for
You're going to
the
be bogus. We're going to be bogus, right?
for the demographic of people who make up the majority of Donald Trump's support, they lived through the 60s and the 70s. So there's that undertone when they were teenagers of rebellious, don't stand for just what they tell you. We're going to fight back the better good. So they have that in their past and their experiences. And now they get to the place where, it's the swamp, and they finally have this guy who isn't a lifetime politician, and he makes up whatever he wants to make up to make them all feel good, and they're like, yeah, I'll buy it. I don't care if it's fake or false or lies or not, doesn't even matter.
And he
And then,
spews lots of falsehoods that
right,
they believe is fact.
right, but then as a country, I want to start cussing, but I'm going to try not to. Like, we have a presidential debate where we run out these two, and it is literally a Saturday night skit. Like, while you were talking, I would use the AI to try and search if golf has ever been discussed in a presidential debate in the history of our country. I think I broke the AI. It keeps telling me that in 2024, Donald Trump, it's like literally telling me what happened last week. But how does that ever enter? Political debates are annoying because they try and manage them, right? You only get 30 seconds to make a response. You only get a minute to make a response, and then you get a rebuttal and blah blah. It's a very managed conversation because these guys are incapable of having, civil discourse. So we get other celebrity newscaster people to like manage it. So in that place, to waste TV time talking about golf is such a disgrace to the honorableness, to the prestige of being the most powerful man. We used to call it the most powerful man on the planet, right? The president of the United States. All those people are doing right now is devaluing that. That position is a joke. Like, we'll pump you full of medicine so that you live and you can walk out there and you're going to be a bumbling idiot and say whatever the hell, you can't even make, full sentences. But it's okay because all the puppet masters behind him are the ones that are running the country. It's fine. We've done it before in the past. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And then you run the other guy out there who's like, he gets to people because he is not afraid to say that over there is completely ridiculous, right? The problem is, why does he have to then say 45 things that are completely untrue falsehoods, and then further degrade,
Because that's who he is.
right, further degrade the prestige of that position, right? Like embarrass that position in the world. So
I saw a good man who's falling apart and a bad guy that would love to capitalize on
I don't
that.
know. I wouldn't even,
Like
but
so
I wouldn't even be able to say that Joe Biden is a good man, because all people have done for the last decade is try and find out reasons why they're not good men, right? And fill all the air with either over bullshit that says he's good or over bullshit that says he's terrible. And look at his son and look at this and look at that. That's all that gets clickbaited, put out there, right? So we don't even know if he's a good man, right? We know that he has been a civil servant for a long time. I gotta believe he entered for the right reasons. I gotta believe he helped participate in programs that made people's lives better. And like, he definitely did good. right? But holy crap, I could, in a civil
The
discourse,
question is
somebody's
whether he
going to
should be
come
running the
back.
country right now or not. He's
Yeah,
on my
well,
team, and I have real I just have real questions about all of it. And Bill, I'll leave it with this as we go to Mako in a couple of weeks, and it's 4th of July, and I love this country. Like I'm that's why we have these conversations that we have. But the disappointing part for me is my team's lying, and I know it, and I'm not going to make any excuses for that or say that we wouldn't be better with pick anyone. The guy in Kentucky, Wes Moore, pick anybody you want in the Democratic Party that could actually get up. Anyone in Congress, pick anyone that Ben Cardin wouldn't be more believable. Like, give me someone who's done this, maybe even as long as Joe Biden, and say, give me that guy on the podium for the next 3 months, and let's vote for the team instead of propping up Bernie. And I don't mean Bernie Sanders because he wouldn't be that guy. He's independent.
right. Weekend at Bernie's. You mean weekend at
Yeah,
Bernie's?
I meant weekend at Bernie's. Although the
Just
Rubenstein
a
thing, with
weekend at
the
Bernie's,
fishing
by the
hat, it
way.
kind of
Weekend
reminds
at
me of that a little bit
Bernie's,
too.
right?
So
Weekend at Bernie's is definitely one of those movies that my kids haven't seen that they need to see. Like that's a solid reference there.
I'm sure there's all sorts of things in there that your kids. How old are your kids?
Well, I'm thinking of my daughters, 14 and 11. Like
Okay,
that's
so I would portray, maybe I'm wrong, but Weekend at Bernie's was a teenage sex comedy, wasn't it? I mean, kind of, sort of, didn't have some
maybe,
boobies in it,
maybe.
some
Yeah, I
stuff,
was
and
gonna
some,
say
but
maybe
it's
I'll please.
also had like all the 1980s hairstyles, music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they probably have payphones,
Right.
just there's probably a situation in there where your daughter be like, why didn't they just text him? Like this doesn't even
Right.
make any sense. So why don't they just use the internet, Dad? So there would
Uh,
be a little bit of that, I
I,
think.
I've done a good job of making them aware of that stuff so they don't make fools of themselves when they're playing an older company. So they know what payphones are. We talk
Okay.
about that
You
kind of
showed him one
stuff.
once. All right, good enough. Bill Cole is here. I wish I had the Cole roofing mug to hold up, but I shattered it last week. Dude, this is the original East Point water tower. You see that? The one I grew
Yeah,
up in right there
yeah.
on the GM plant there. You got Captain Harvey's, Colt Lane's. So I have a Dundalk mug that was gifted to me on the interweb. So I want to give a shout out for that, but I don't have the Cole roofing mug. Tell me what you do in the real world you did something real. You did a school last week, right? 2 weeks ago, right?
I mean, you probably saw pictures of it or whatever 2 weeks ago. We probably did it a year ago, but yeah, no, I mean, right now it's
That's a school
yeah,
behind you, isn't it? Or am I nuts? The
no,
picture?
that's a cool little like
It's a warehouse.
co-op
Okay.
warehouse actually up in Pennsylvania where there's all different kinds of vendors. It's almost like a where's Fadley's Lexington Market, but
Okay.
in York, Pennsylvania. So
Okay. Good. Okay.
um wonderful people. I probably should remember the name and be able to say that so people could go visit
Dude,
them.
we'll
That's
do it next
terrible.
week. You've had that background for
Right.
years. It's great.
Right.
You're obviously proud of
Uh
it.
yeah. No, I mean right now it's just time to make hay, right? Like it's summertime and everybody wants their roofs done in the summer. So we're out on schools. We It's a very unforgiving business. We have 8 weeks where the kids go away to get the old roof off, put new roof on, and then the kids come back, whether we're done or not, the kids are coming back. So we have to work very hard to make sure we get that back. So
My one of my neighbors down the alley, the Ryder family, they were a family of roofers, right? So they always had that big tar thing at the end, and they did most of the roofs on our street when we were kids because they were in the neighborhood and did it. And so
we call those kettles.
kettles. All I remember is in the summertime when the windows are open and my dad never wanted to run the air because he was cheap and whatever. And now I hate the air just because it's just like I don't love air conditioning. I prefer fresh air when I can. Um, but he would always smell it. You'd smell that
Oh
tar, you'd be
yeah.
like, Miss Edie's getting her roof done this week. But you would smell that summer. It smelled like it was always on a 98-degree day too. It'd be vaping up on me. I'm like, oh man, asphalt. I wasn't allowed to say asphalt in my neighborhood. I get soap in my mouth for saying that. Bill Cole is here. He's Cole Roofing and Gore. Dude, we're trying to fix the world, man. But I'm telling you, that debate worried me, and I'm not going to talk
Yeah.
about it with everybody all day. But I'm glad we at least talked about it because you
I
are my
wouldn't be shocked.
consigliere here. You got to be my guidance counselor.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw a move to like Gavin Newsom. That wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't shock me. I mean, he's hard because California is such a train wreck,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's unelectable because of that. Like that makes it hard because California is not
The states that
something that
aren't
we
going to
want to
elect him aren't going to
model.
elect him anyway. You got to win 3
Right,
states for him. That's
right,
it. You know?
right, right.
Yeah.
I think they might be forced to make that move. I
By
don't
the
know.
way, Larry Hogan has agreed to come on, as has Angela also Brooks. I have never met her. I had somebody the other day who was on Team Ehrlich at the Dundalk Heritage Fair, talk to me about them. And I'm like, I have people on I'm not voting for all the time. And I have people I'm probably voting for no matter what they say or do, just because I've seen the other side. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Larry Hogan. I'm really looking forward to talking to Angela also Brooks. Wes Moore has agreed to come on. So I'm going to hold him accountable to that. I've been doing that for about a year and a half. So we're going to have us a summer around here as we debate who should be running the country. My opinion is neither one of those guys from last week. He is Bill Cole. I am Nestor. We are
I don't disagree with
WNST.
that. Let's just to be on the record. I don't disagree with that statement at all.
Okay,
Just
good
for the
enough.
record.
Man, we finally agree
There's
on
where we
something.
agree.
Now we can go get a beer. 4th of July. How about that? Let's whistle the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, we've already heard that last month. I'm Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore positive, even when it hurts.